and welcome to the Blue Shifting Democracy Week. This is something a little bit different, but I'm excited to be announcing that we're going to be officially helping select, well, you get to help select some of the games that I'm really interested in playing on the channel and that will take priority because, frankly, the channel's with everybody, so we're going to have a little bit of say from you guys to kind of help finalize what I prioritize. Now, I want to briefly explain how this is going to work, and then I'm going to go over each of the categories, like for each day, and like what games are being considered to be played on the channel. So this is going to be elimination style democracy. When this video goes live, I will have in the community tab on YouTube. Also, I will cross-post the link to those tabs on the Discord. Will be access to straw polls for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you can go there, you can click, and you can submit yourself like a vote for what game you want to see played. Now, do not fret because you think the game's going to be eliminated. Like, just genuinely vote for what you want, and then at the end of that at the end of a 24-hour period, so like the next evening, I'll look at the results and I will determine what one of the examples will be eliminated. And then we do another vote with the remaining options. So that way you don't feel like your vote was cast for, the underdog and it doesn't matter anymore. Because like, say we eliminate the bottom and it's the one you voted for, you can then cast your vote for your next choice. That way we have the biggest and most opportunity to have exactly what you're most interested in be voted for. Now, of course, I can't guarantee what you want to win, but it gives you an opportunity to feel like you can definitely be part of the process and have a say no matter what the results end up being. So we're going to be jumping right into that. It's nothing too crazy, and I don't want to take too long on this, so we're going to go inside, and I'm going to just give a brief kind of summary and understanding of like my position on the game, my impression of it so far. I've been trying to avoid spoilers, so obviously, I'm not going to say too much about it, but we're going to jump into it. And first, our slot we're going to cover is Monday. Monday's going to be interesting. Monday's been my love slot for a while, and I've decided I want to keep the tradition up of doing something that's a bit more of a longer chain series, most likely something that's got sequels and things that we're going to be diving into. So this could be a very long-term choice, especially with the first option, Higurashi. Higurashi is a nasty long piece of work, but it's one of the highest regarded visual novels in history. A lot of people on the channel have been clamoring for me to do it. I've been hesitant to get it started though because I know it's a big commitment, but I think now might be the time. So this is a classic. It's an older style, so it's going to have older art, and then I think it's going to do a lot of my quote-unquote lovely voice work on it, but it's again such a good impactful visual novel. It's like a hallmark of visual novels in itself. It even has several anime series based on it, so I have no doubt it'll be fantastic. So if that's something you want to see, make sure you cast your vote for that. Next choice for Monday is The Fruit of Grisaya. Now, this one's very interesting. Again, this one has an anime. I didn't even know this was a visual novel. But it's another one that I see a lot of recommends for in the VN recommendations tab in Discord. So I know it's one that's pretty popular. And this one's also a bit more like high-spirited. Higurashi, I didn't know too much about, and I've been particularly avoiding it because it's very much a mystery. Fruit of Grisaya is another one I don't know a ton about, but I know it's kind of one of those like action/romance eroge type of deals. So that one's going to be a bit more laid back, I'm guessing, compared to Higurashi. But it's still probably going to have its darkness, going to have its like powerful punching storyline. And I know it has a lot more action-oriented stuff going on in it. So keep an eye out for that, but it seems like it'll be a lot of fun. Fantastic music, if anything else. So, like, if I can't judge anything by the concept trailer, looks really, really good. And then finally, and probably one of the biggest ones, Fate Stay Night, or specifically Fate in general. The Fate has 3 major arcs. This is going to be an interesting one. I've been really on the fence about this because I was really hoping that Natsu would actually do an official port. However, with the new re-releases that have been made of other Natsu-verse games, and the fact that they've made it really clear that they have no real interest in catering to audiences out like beyond Japan, I think it's just time for us to toss in the towel. I want to play the Fate game. I also know my buddy Echo 6 has had a lot of success being able to put this on his channel. He's got an entire series up. He hasn't had any drama with it, so I think it's worth putting the time into. So if you want to see the Fate fan translation on the channel, and that's a series you want to see me go into, because I already love the Fate series. I probably know too much about it. I don't think I can call that one blind. I know way too much about the series, but I love Fate so much. So I really have a lot of fun playing it. So if you want to see that on the channel, cast your vote. And now on to Tuesday. Tuesday's gonna be interesting because I want Tuesday to be a bit more of a wild card. Like we've got one visual novel slotted in here, but we have other stuff we're gonna be looking at too, other kinds of games, and mostly kind of off the wall or really interesting stuff. So hear me out on these ones. There's gonna be a lot of like odd choices, and there's really not a lot of similarity between them at all. It's mostly just kind of a grab bag of things that I think would be really fun to feature on the channel, but don't really, but also couldn't compete with maybe larger mainstream titles. So we're going to jump into this, and first one, we're going into the third part, or third like story told in the universe of To the Moon, Imposter Factory. Now, this trailer looks really interesting. Very heavy, like, narrative based. If you've watched my To the Moon playthrough, you know that the writing and the music on this is on point. I'm really excited. I've heard a lot of amazing things about it, but I know absolutely nothing about the story, so I'm really excited for that. So this seems like your cup of tea. Let's make sure to vote for it. Next is Kaori After Story. Now, this is really interesting. This is a callback to a series I did a long time ago on the Ace Academy. That's one of the first Pixel Fade game that came out. One of the first things I covered on my channel. I absolutely loved that story. Now, they had a fan kind of like, hey, we're going to do an after story. So they had their fan base like vote on which of the girls' romance paths was their favorite. And Kaori won. She's the tsundere, kind of red/orange haired character. A really fun character, really good story with her too. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of her at first, and I played a different route on my main playthrough, but when I played all the playthroughs subsequently afterwards, hers was really nice, and so it makes sense that it won. And so while it would be a bit detached from my personal like published playthrough of Ace Academy, it would be a really fun story to explore. So I kind of want to gauge and see what you think. I know several people out there on the channel are fans of Pixel Fade games. So if Kaori After Story is something you think would be good for the channel and you want to see me cover it, please put a vote for it. But I'd understand if you don't. It would be a bit jarring. If they did a Yuna After Story, I probably would have been all over that. But we'll see. Next up in the category is Half-Life Alyx. This would be really interesting because I got a Quest 2 VR headset for Christmas this year, and so I've been having a lot of fun playing around in that. It's been a little weird getting used to, but I'm doing pretty good. And Half-Life Alyx is probably one of the best looking and most fleshed out VR games. Like, it's an actual game with an actual like story and thriving universe and interesting and dynamic things. I think it'd be really fun to showcase. And I think it'd be one of the few VR games that translates to video and YouTube better than others. It would be an adventure because I'd have to record with a lapel mic, and I have no idea how it'll work out. But I'm always game to try something new, so it'd be really interesting to see. So if that seems of interest to you, and you think you'd have fun watching me stumble around and probably sucking really bad at playing Half-Life Alyx, make sure to cast your vote for it because I think it'd be a great addition to the channel. And lastly, on the Tuesday slot, I want to bring up something that was brought up by a patron who specifically said, hey, this is something I think we might want to consider, and I absolutely have to agree. It's called Lobotomy Corporation. Now, think of this as a like site management. It's kind of like, imagine Call of Cthulhu meets like Fallout Vaults, like the mobile game where you like make the vaults like from the side view. It looks a lot like that. It's kind of a management simulation mixed with a little bit of visual novel type like aesthetics, but mostly it's about, you know, running an SCP type of like research center where you're taking these eldritch horrors and trying to research them and glean this information that you need in order to potentially save the world or whatever. But occasionally they break out, try and slaughter all your staff. You got to try and respond to them. You got to make sure they don't break out or kill everybody. Essentially, it's going to be this really interesting, like Black Mesa-esque type of place to be able to try and run from your own, like in your own underground bunker. So it looks really interesting. It's definitely a bit of a step away from what's typical on the channel, but I've heard it's got a really decent story and it just looks like fun and dynamic and just a really interesting contribution to the channel. So yeah, if this is something that catches your eye, you think it looks interesting, and you want to hear more about my thoughts and like experiences while playing it, make sure to vote for it. All right, now we're going to Wednesdays. Wednesdays is going to be all about visual novels, and there's some pretty good Titan names that are going to be coming out here. Well, not really, but we're going to start with a real strong one called a Rewrite Plus, or Rewrite kind of Redo. This is really interesting because it just came back out, like this remastered version came out. I'm really excited. I've heard amazing things about the story, and so we'll have to see how this one goes. I technically can't find if they're okay with me streaming this kind of game or not. Normally, they're pretty open about this with Sekai projects, but we'll have to see. But I'm willing to take the risk, especially if this is something you guys are passionate about. But yeah, it's a fantastic story. From what I can remember from the synopsis, it's mostly about a strange, mysterious girl who appears and her tying to the potential end of the world, and the main character trying to figure out like how to deal with this situation. I think it's one of those like mystery / sci-fi / fantasy type of stories where there's going to be like magic and mysticism going on, but also like a bunch of like sci-fi-esque type of themes, especially when it involves the end of the world. So I think that sounds like something you want to see me play. Make sure to vote for it. But don't be too hasty, because we also have to consider something called like Baldur's Sky. Baldur's Sky is a mecha-based, also sci-fi, but this one's really interesting because it seems like it's not just a storyline about like romance and like trying to solve a mystery, because I think like there's even an amnesia plotline going on in this one, but it also has bullet hell gameplay elements. I've always been a fan of fusing a visual novel with gameplay. Sunrider is one of my favorite series that we've done on the channel. It's an old one. Many of you might not have even seen that I've done it. Fantastic game with actual gameplay, strategizing gameplay, not besides the visual novel content. And Baldur's Sky looks to be about this built in the same kind of way. It'd be different, and I'm gotta be honest, I suck at bullet hell, so I'm sure it'll be frustrating for you guys to see me try and stumble my way through that. But I've heard amazing things about it. The community is really excited about it. So yeah, if that's something that is more of your flavor, make sure to vote for that one. But, slow it down a bit, we've got a lot of intense games that are kind of up on the docket, so let's take a step back and talk about one that I'm excited about personally, Making Lovers. This one's really interesting because it's not just a typical romance. Well, it starts as a typical romance. It's about the guy meets girl or several girls. You pick the path that of the girl you find the most interesting and engaging. You have like the awkward dating stage, and eventually you like pre-dating stage, and eventually you get to the dating and officially become lovers. But the story doesn't stop there. Unlike a lot of games and stories like this, where like the story kind of stops when you get the girl, instead, the next phase of the story is about growing that relationship, about like trying to tackle the ups and downs of what it means to be dating people, like learning to live with each other, learning to deal with each other's flaws and insecurities, and challenging like personality and lifestyle changes that can challenge like your relationship as a whole, and working through that. It's a lot more about dynamic relationship growth, which I think is a really cool topic to cover because it's not something you see a lot in visual novels. So it's something I'm personally really excited about. And if this sounds like what you want, I'd consider throwing a vote to it. Now we have one more submission that I had to put onto this list that was from one of our lovely patrons. It's something that actually got recently released in translation, although it looks like it's an older series, Full Metal Demon Muramasa. Now, if I could summarize this, imagine like reading a story about Edo period style samurai warriors, but instead of it being in the Edo period, it's some kind of sci-fi where it's samurai mechs. I have no idea. I'm seeing this trailer and seeing like the synopsis. All I can tell is it's a dark, gritty warrior story about like honor and dishonor and combat and fighting, and like what do you fight for? Like it just looks awesome. There's really not much else to say about it, especially because it's mech suit samurai. It's really hard to really make a better pitch than that. So I'm really interested in this one. And the reviews I saw, people were saying like it's like one of their favorite games they've ever played, like a life-changing type of story. And I'm all for that. So if this looks like you're something you want to see, make sure to leave a vote for it. And finally, we're on Thursdays. Thursdays is going to be the big enigma on the channel because this is going to be the day I'm going to dedicate to truly stepping away from visual novels. I want this to be a slot where I can put story-driven games that are just something we can immerse ourselves into just as much as we've immersed ourselves in so many of these great visual novels, but there are great stories to explore outside the visual novel space. And now that I'm dedicating more time on the channel, I want to explore things beyond just visual novels. Visual novels are always a big part of this channel, but let's talk about some of the things that we can cover on the channel that are maybe a bit different, and I'm guessing you're going to recognize several of these. First off, I want to talk about Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Now, this is technically the first in the Legend of Heroes Trails series. I didn't realize that because earlier I talked about Trails in Cold Steel. I didn't realize it was part of a greater narrative. It's just that's a game I've heard a lot about. So when I posted it out there, some of the patrons kind of corrected me saying like, hey, Trails in the Sky is technically the first one. You could play and they kind of debated whether or not I could jump into the middle. I could probably, but there's a lot of stuff I would miss. And so they recommended I look at the whole series, and I looked at it, and even Trails in the Sky looks fantastic. Especially because they just did a remaster of it, so the graphics will be up to snuff as far as they can be, but the focus will be on character development and the world building. It's a lot about adventure and exploration. It seems really, really fun. Has a great history, made by the people who made Dragon Quest, which has a massive following, so I'm confident it'll be a good series, very dynamic one, and I think you all will enjoy it. But it's not the only titan of a series that we're considering here, so hold your votes for now, though. If this is really something you're excited about, make sure to cast it, because this might be the underdog of the options here. Next option is the beginning of the Yakuza series, Yakuza 0. Not Kiwami, which is technically the first Yakuza game, but Yakuza 0 is a prequel to that. Oh, man. I've had very passionate people talking about how much they want to watch me play Yakuza, and frankly, I know Yakuza is a game I would love to play. Will I suck at it? Probably. Will I have fun with it? Absolutely. And I'm really, really excited to even be considering it. Frankly, it might be one of the most mainstream games I've ever considered putting on the channel, but I don't really care about that. I just think that the world and the gameplay and this the myriad of options you have while playing it just looks like so much fun. The characters are fantastic from what I can tell. Again, I've only seen snippets. I don't really know what the plot entails, but I've seen some of the highlights of some of the side quests you can do and things that are just really funny. I want to do it. I want to play the game. So if this is something you want to see on the channel and something you think that you would have fun joining me on the trip for, make sure to vote for the Yakuza 0 series as we start of the Yakuza playthrough, essentially. And then last but not least, personal favorite series of mine, one I know like the back of my hand and yet have not played in a long time. So it would both be a familiar and unfamiliar playthrough of Mass Effect Remastered. I think that sounds really fun. I've seen a lot of good reports about just how stable the remaster version is. But Mass Effect in itself is a very strong place in my heart. It's one of the few games I was able to buy when growing up, but I also never got to get any of the DLC because I was a really poor kid, and it's hard to explain buying DLC to your parents in a way that makes them understand why they have to pay for half a game again to add something to a game you already have. So I never really got that option when I was growing up, and then by the time I could buy the game, I just either moved on or just didn't own a system that could actually play it. So yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity to play Mass Effect again. This would definitely be more like a love story of me and the game. Something heralding back to a series that I've always enjoyed. There would be new content in it, very similar to what my Persona playthrough is right now, where I'm familiar with the majority of the content, but there is new content in there from the DLCs that I don't really know much about. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to explore in the games at the same time. I highly recommend it as a part of the channel. It definitely would be a good walkthrough, but because it is something I know so well, it also might not be something you'd find as interesting to watch. So if you think Mass Effect is a great spot for the series as a whole, you want to watch it on the channel, please cast your vote for that. But yeah, it really kind of comes down to you, and that's really what I'll end this today. This is Democracy Week. This is just a chance for everyone who's on the channel who has any level of investment whatsoever, or even random people who come along and just find it for whatever reason. I don't know. If you're new to the channel, this is the first video you found. I don't know what brought you here, but hey, you want to help me pick out stuff I'm going to cover on the channel? Let me know. I'd love to read your comments too if you have anything else you want to say about these. And remember, the polls are going to be up in the community tab on the TheBlueShifting channel directly, and it's going to be updated every 24 hours. And by Friday, we should have pretty much the playlist of what's going to be prioritized this year. And again, keep in mind, I might not even get to all of these this year. For instance, on Monday, if by the time the day after is over, which is my current Monday series, when I get through all those parts, if they've released Total Eclipse, I might just roll right into that first, because Muv-Luv might just take priority. But even if that does happen, whatever we decide, like Higurashi, Fujigurasai, Fate Stay Night, one of them is going to be the runner-up to the Muv-Luv series. The rest of them, I'm real confident we'll be able to get to this year. So just like let me know, and I like being able to have an opportunity to have say in what kind of content you see on the channel. I think is a really good thing. I got this idea from Many a True Nerd, who's probably one of my favorite YouTubers as a whole. I like the way he runs his channel. I like the way he covers his content. We definitely have different tastes and the type of content we make. I don't think I could make the content he makes, but the way he's done things, and he's given me a lot of inspiration for the channel. And he's actually somebody who does a Democracy Week on his own. So highly recommend you check out his channel if you want. Really, really good stuff there. But yeah, I think this is a great opportunity to interact with everybody and to kind of get a feel for what you are all interested in. So thank you so much for being a part of the channel directly, being able to contribute in this way. It takes just a few seconds, and it's something you need to check every day this week to make sure that like you continue to make your voice heard. Because again, if you vote for the underdog and the underdog gets eliminated, you have an opportunity to make the next best choice so that you always feel like you're in the loop on everything. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think and kind of seeing what wins out in the end. So stick around. Hope you enjoy yourself today. Have a great time with the other videos on the channel. So until the next video watching me, or see me next. I'll see you there.